different areas. And expanding this attention now to include your entire body. And then just allowing it to really gently, really safely sink in to the surface holding you. Letting go. This is kind of like being at a nice warm beach and sitting on the sand and the body just imprinting on it. No reservation. Just letting go and allowing it to just really gently sink in safely. Letting gravity do its thing. Perhaps sensing through the body, sensing through these areas that are in contact with the surface holding you. And just allow for this support to be noticeable. Becoming aware of where the body touches the surface. And just allowing the body to be heavy, to be at ease. And starting with the feet and noticing at your feet, is there an area that's in contact with the surface or with the floor? Allowing this area to be your grounding. Allowing the earth to support you. You might notice that the mind might wander, might get distracted, might take you in a story, might remind you of things. Perhaps it could be an invitation to just say thank you. Allowing it to recognize that you got it now. That you're here. It doesn't need to work so hard. And then just allowing your attention to settle right here at your feet. Perhaps feeling the heaviness of the feet, allowing them to let go of all responsibility. They don't have to take you anywhere right now. They don't have to do anything right now. They can just be. And as you settle your attention right here at your feet, just noticing what else might be here. Are there any other sensations here at the feet? And if at any moment you encounter an unpleasant sensation, something that might be too much for now, you can always go back to the breath, just noticing the fact that you're breathing. But if it feels right for you to just settle on the feet, perhaps noticing the bottom of your feet, and the toes, maybe you're sensing temperature, coolness, or warmth, or even moisture. So just becoming aware of that, knowing that whatever your experience is right, like this moment is perfect. And if you sense nothing, that's okay too. You can become aware of your legs, starting with the lower part of the leg. And again, allowing the legs to just let go of any need to get you anywhere. They can just be. There's nothing they need to do right now. So if you're noticing any tension, any tightness, just allowing them to let go. And as you notice your legs, as you pay attention to this area in the body, just noticing also the breath, seeing if you can breathe in through this area. That looks more like allowing the breath to just flow normally, traveling to this area in the body on the inhale and just exhaling normally, allowing the air to go out into the world. Just allowing the legs to experience a sense of ease, softening. They're not required to do anything right now. They're free to just be. And if at any moment you experience a strong emotion or an emotion that might be difficult, and you're always welcome to, if your eyes are closed, to open your eyes, to look around, to stand up, to shift your pose, to come back to the breath. Whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Knowing that just the fact that you notice the difficult is already part of the practice. And so now shifting a little bit and just coming to the hip area. Just noticing the right hip, the left hip. The pelvis, and the organs that are here. Glutes, the tailbone. And if your mind has drifted into story, into the to-do list, just really gently escorting your mind back to this area in the body, the pelvis, the hips, the glutes. Just allowing the breath to flow through this area in the inhale. And on the exhale, just allowing this area to acknowledge there is nothing to do right now, nowhere to go, but just being here. There's nothing required of this area. It can just soften into this moment. Letting go of any responsibility. There's nothing that it needs to do, but just be. allowing the breath to just flow normally and naturally, allowing each out breath to be an opportunity to let go a little more, to soften, to let be. Now just shifting your attention to the upper trunk, starting with the abdomen, perhaps noticing the breath here, the rising, the falling. And then again, letting the abdomen, this area that does so much for you, letting it know that it can let go right now. There's nothing that it needs to do. So if there's any tension, any tightness, making the conscious decision to let go if that feels all right, to soften. Just allowing the breath to travel to this area. Allowing this area of the body, the abdomen, to be an area where the breath rests with nothing to do. Just being here. Now expanding this awareness to the lower back, resting here. And again, just letting it know that there's nothing that it needs to do right now. He can just rest, let go. And now coming to the upper trunk, the rib cage, expanding on the in-breath, contracting on the out-breath. Allowing for space for the lungs to expand, contract. And again, it can just be allowing this area of the body to breathe at its own pace, no agenda, nothing to accomplish, but just being here, doing its thing. noticing the heart. And even if you don't sense it, the heart is beating, already doing what it does. And again, there's nothing to do right now. No alarms to set off. It doesn't have to beat fast or slow. It can just be. Now taking the breath all the way around to the upper back, allowing your attention to rest right here. Softening, letting go. And now the shoulders, checking in, welcoming them to just drop. They don't have to do anything right now. And on the next, excuse me, on the next in breath, bringing your attention to the hands, the palms of the hands. They do so much. And again, releasing them from that responsibility right now. There's nothing that they need to do. They can just be. And then moving your attention to the fingers. And again, noticing the breath here. Sending them the message that it's okay. There's nothing that they need to do. They can just let go. And as we continue to move through the body, just making sure that you're noticing the breath. Just flowing. And now becoming aware of the arms, the lower arms, the elbows, the upper part of the arms. allowing the breath to visit this area. And once again, they can soften. They're not required to do anything right now. Then just allowing your attention to shift again to the shoulders once again, and just noticing again this area. And then moving to the neck and the throat. Softening. Sensing the breath moving. And now just checking in with the jaw. The mouth, the tongue. This area that sometimes has so much to say. Just allowing it to soften. The tongue that works so hard. Nothing that it needs to do right now. Releasing it of all responsibility. Now moving to the rest of the face, the area around the eyes, the brow, the forehead. So much is said through this area in the body. So just allowing the in-breath to come to this area, and on the out-breath to soften. Making contact, letting go. It doesn't need to express anything right now. It can just be. It works so hard. Now noticing the sides of the head, the right side and the right ear, the left side and the left ear. And again, they don't have to work so hard. Even now, it's not important for them to hear everything. They can just let go. And with the next in breath, bringing your attention to the back of the head. The top of the head, the crown. And just allowing for a sense of letting go here. On the next in breath, allowing this breath to travel all the way from the very, very top of your head, all the way down to the tips of the toes. Sensing this movement of the breath in the body. And now sensing it leave the body as well on the in breath, softening. And giving this entire body the message that it can let go. It can rest. Nothing to do. Not responsible right now. He can do whatever he wants to do. And so as you tune into the body, maybe just noticing from this place what he needs. Are there any areas that need softening that need you to really gently, fully consciously move, stretch? And if you notice that this movement is coming from reactivity to something, maybe just settling again into what's really happening, paying attention to this body and its needs, and allowing it to guide the movement. Checking in, letting go. Allowing the breath to accompany every movement, every shift. And then whenever you're ready, just coming back to center. Deep breath if that's needed, but just letting go again. And if your eyes are closed, really gently opening your eyes at your own pace. Allowing for the face to just remain soft. And perhaps just taking a look around, noticing your surroundings. Finding an area where you're at that is nourishing to you. And this could be where the wall meets the ceiling, or where the walls meet the lines, or anything else where you are that might be nourishing to you. And then whenever you're ready, you can just come back to the screen. Seeing everybody that's here and noticing how that feels in the body. Noticing how the body responds to being together, to being in a group, without any predisposed way, but just being here. So welcome back. Not like you went anywhere. Quite the opposite, isn't it? You were truly here. It almost doesn't make sense to say welcome back ever after a practice, because this is the only time you are actually here. So today I wanted to speak a little bit about what happens when we're in relationship to one another, in relationship to the world, and how our mindfulness practice informs a lot of what might be happening, and how we sometimes go into autopilot and we don't realize that something is actually happening. And when we go into autopilot, the mind goes into habit, right? Whatever we've been doing forever, we're going to do it. We're not conscious anymore. Something else takes over. So I wanted to share, this is inspired actually by a story. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and she was sharing this story at work. It was like a little hiccup at work. It wasn't a big deal, or that's what she said after. But this is a story about her and a coworker having a conversation. So she experienced a conversation as noticing that her coworker was getting a little agitated by the tasks that they were doing and the things that they had to do, and her tone of voice was shifting, and in her perception there was a little bit of frustration from the coworker with the tasks at work. But she mentioned that as she watched her coworker raise her voice a little bit, get agitated, she automatically, without realizing, she was so caught up in the story of what this coworker was saying, that she went into autopilot. And so I wanted to share this with you because this happens often. When we get caught in the story, whether it's ours or someone else's, we are going to shift into autopilot right away, because somebody needs to be watching, right? Somebody needs to still protect. And that's what autopilot does. So it's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's going to go to a habit that is past, a habit that perhaps doesn't serve us anymore. So going back to the story, she said that as the friend was getting worked up, well, the coworker, she started to take ownership. Now, in retrospect, she can see that. She didn't see that then. She was in autopilot. But she started to take ownership of her coworker's emotions. And how she did that is by offering alternatives, by offering help, right? So the coworker kept in her own story, of course, in her own thing, but she started offering a lot of things, and she says, I became the fixer, the helper. She took she took responsibility. So later, she was still bothered by this, and what happened was she started to question her behavior. This is again a person that practices, person that has a regular mindfulness practice that can see in retrospect what happened and where do I need to do something? How can I shift? right? Because awareness is great, and mindfulness allows us to have this kind awareness without judgment. And so when she looks back, there is no judgment. Then there's that, just you can examine her behavior. And she says that she had an opportunity to meditate and get some perspective. And she was able to see things more objectively and realize that during this incident, she was highly activated. Highly activated. Her breath was going faster. Her heart rate was elevated. She can feel so much tension in her body, she says. So here it is when our nervous system is constantly in feedback with other people's, with somebody else's, if we're having a conversation with whoever we have around with their nervous system. And Dr. Dan Siegel talks a lot about this, the neuroscience of this, that we're constantly in relationship and we're constantly feeding from one another. So if we're in autopilot, when we're feeding and our nervous system is attuned to someone else, the mind is going to come to the rescue if there's something that they sense that is not safe. So in this case, for this friend of mine, I guess that seeing the friend agitated must have taken the mind into an earlier experience in her life. So autopilot came in and it's, this is not good. This is not safe. So this happens to all of us, this constant feedback. Our mindfulness practice allows us to be cognizant of this, to notice. So these autopilot moments are less and less, and we can build new habits that are more helpful for us, that allow us to have an easier life, right? So we can take care of ourselves. And so there's a little bit of a formula I wanted to share with you, which is awareness plus action equals change, right? And many times some people come to me, they say, okay, I have all this awareness. I know now what's happening. How do I make the change? How do I actually change this? I don't want to respond. I don't want to react all the time. I don't want to do this constantly. I want to change this. Well, I asked this friend, I said, what could you have done differently? That's something that I always ask myself, right? When something is still in my mind and it's bothering me or something is happening, I always say, what could I have done first? What does this mean to me? What was it that I made out this to be? And so when I asked this friend, she realized that was a triggering situation. That means that there was an activation. So if we can get away from that word, she was activated. Something in her was just stirred up. And of course, her behavior is to fix, to help, to make things well for everybody. And so she said that she would have asked this friend, this coworker, to take a pause. Can we just pause for a moment? Can we check in? Right? And in the right situation with the right people, we might even be able to be vulnerable and say, I'm noticed that I'm very activated right now, or that I'm feeling a certain way, right? Might be able to do that. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're not in that environment, but we can always invite a pause. Can we just pause? Can we check in? Can we tune into our bodies? Can we notice our breathing for a moment? So that's why she said that this is where the change comes. The action, after she noticed what was happening, she was able to not react, to know off, because every time there is a reaction, we're caught in an old habit of the mind, right? The mind is going to come to rescue. Often that reaction is very young, something we've been doing all our life. Something bothers us. This is how I react. This is how I feel. And now this is what I do. So now we can step back a little bit and kind of take care of ourselves, take a couple of breaths, and then proceed, right? So that would have changed everything, I think. And she agrees that maybe that little moment would have changed everything for her coworker and herself. There could have been more dialogue. They could have been able to come up with alternatives. But because that didn't happen, that there was no room for that. So this is a learning process. This is giving the responsibility back to the person, to the other person around, we're only responsible for ourselves. We can only take care of ourselves, nobody else. We can't change anyone, right? We can only be ourselves. And the more we're ourselves, the more we understand ourselves, the more help we can be to others. And so the idea is just to be present, to take care of ourselves, and then to move forward. So that being said, I wanted to share a little reading that I was doing from John O'Donohue. And this is a page called Finding Your True Home Within Your Life. And so if you just like to sit back and get comfy, again, story time. I'm just going to read you this like short sort of poem. So John O'Donohue says, each one of us is alone in the world. It takes great courage to meet the full force of your aloneness. Most of the activity in society is subconsciously designed to quell the voice crying in the wilderness within you. He says, the mystic Thomas Kempis said, when you go out into the world, you return having lost some of yourself. Until you learn to inhabit your aloneness, the lonely distraction and noise of society will reduce you into false belonging, where you will only become empty and weary. When you face your aloneness, something begins to happen. Gradually, opened in the transition, but it's utterly vital in order to come into rhythm with your own individuality. In a sense, this is the endless task of finding your true home within your life. It is not narcissistic, for as soon as you rest in the house of your own heart, the doors and windows begin to open outward to the world. No longer on the run from your aloneness, your connections with others become real and creative. You no longer need to covertly scrape affirmation from others or from projects outside yourself. This is slow work. It takes years to bring your mind home. I feel like I need to take a deeper breath with that. It's so beautiful. But so I thank you so much for being here today, for sharing this space, for co-creating this space with me, and for your kind attention and practice. I am a firm believer that if we're here and we continue to practice, we can not only enhance our lives, but also enhance the lives of others. So thank you. Thank you.